Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Again, welcome. My name is Katie O'Hara. I'm the Public Information Officer with Southwest Area Team 1, and this is today's update for the Alexander Mountain Fire. Today, we will have a quick introduction from our Incident Commander, Carl Schwope, followed by an operational update from our Operations Section Chief, Jason Coyle. After that, Lori Hodges from the Larimer County Office of Emergency Management has joined us to talk a little bit more about recovery and what we can expect coming up in the next couple days. And then we'll wrap it up with Captain Tim Keaton from the Sheriff's Office. So we'll kick it off with our Incident Commander. Thanks.
All right, good afternoon. Carl Schwope, Incident Commander on the Alexander Mountain Fire. Acres still remain the same, 9,668 acres. Percent containment, we're at 74%. Personnel, 536. As we talked a little bit yesterday, all the great success the crews are having on the fire, we'll start to see our personnel numbers drop over the next coming days as other fires also need these folks. So. But we'll always make sure we have enough folks, enough personnel on this incident to finish what we need. The precipitation, getting a little bit of light precipitation up on the fire, and you always think that precipitation is a good thing on a fire. In this case, it is. The lines are in. That means all of the fires up next to the edge of where we have our fire line, and then any precip we get just aids the firefighters and helping mop up and secure hot spots. Just one last thing, I'd like to give thanks to the hospitality we got last night at the Larimer County Rodeo, so appreciate all that. Thank you.
Hi, Jason Coyle. I'm one of the Operations Section Chiefs for Team 1, and I'd like to give a shout out to Caleb Finch. It's his birthday today, one of the other Operations Section Chiefs. So on the fire, eastern side of the fire is contained. And right now what they're looking at is how they're going to do the suppression repair and prioritizing that. Doesn't sound too sexy, I know, but it's important, especially on the steep slopes, to get some of that stabilization work done as soon as possible to prevent erosion and prevent further damage secondary to post-fire, flooding or anything else like that. Along the 32 corridor, everything's looking good there. They're pulling pumps, getting the rest of the equipment out of the way in preparation for future reentries. All the way up on the west side of the fire, through Cedar Park. They put more black on the map along that critical piece of hand line we talked about a couple days ago. That was that pinch point that we needed to complete to keep the fire from going west. And now they're going into the darker timber, where there's mixed conifer, things like that, where it will prevent a lot of that rain from getting on the ground, and where the duff, the organic layer, is really thick. Going in there just to make sure that there's no more heat in there. So it's just kind of search and destroy for any sort of heat. Last night on the infrared, we asked them to turn it up until they could see deer and then back it down a notch so we could pick up every one of those little spots, and then they went in after those spots today. So everything's looking good, and we welcome the rain. Thank you.
Lori Hodges, Director of Emergency Management, Larimer County. As the sheriff mentioned yesterday, the sheriff or myself has reached out to everybody within the fire area that has lost a structure. So our first recovery priority is immediate needs. So it's the property cleanup, it's the debris removal, it's the dumpsters in the area. So that is going on right now. We do have some volunteer organizations that are able to help individuals with property cleanup. So those individuals will be at the Disaster Assistance Center, which we are setting up for this weekend from Friday through Sunday, from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. It'll be at the Ranch Events Complex in the South Hall of the Larimer Convention Center. So that'll be again Friday through Sunday, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. And the Disaster Assistance Center is considered really like a one-stop shop for people who need assistance for either the recovery of the disaster, whether they had property loss, or also if they are impacted by this fire in some way, whether it's the land rehab, restoration. We'll have some folks who can help with that as well. So that's going on this weekend. We also have a large network of volunteer, nonprofit, faith-based partners, non-governmental partners who can help with various needs that people might have. So our Human Services Department will be reaching out to those who lost structures to talk to them one-on-one about individual needs. That's going to be happening this week prior to the Disaster Assistance Center opening this weekend. The last piece is After we get through kind of those immediate needs, we're going to be looking at that long-term recovery and restoration, and that's really that land restoration rehab. We have a large number, again, of partners who work in this space. We have watershed coalitions, we have the fire shed, and those are the folks that we're going to be getting together with in the coming days to really talk about what's needed for this fire area, what's needed for the drainages, and how do we best protect homes and structures after the fire for that post-fire flood threat. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Tim Keaton. I am a captain with the Larimer County Sheriff's Office. I want to start this out, talk about relationships. We've reported on this before, but I cannot overemphasize the relationship that we have had with the state who have been supporting us, the U.S. Forest Service who have been supporting us, the National Incident Management Team that they have brought in, the work that we have all been able to do together, from what I'm being told, with people who have done this for 3 or more decades is unprecedented. And I credit a lot of that working together with the success we've seen in here today. So I really want to publicly acknowledge and thank all of our partners who have helped us with this challenge. Now to the community, we have a strong goal to get you back in your homes. That is very, very important to us, and we are working diligently to get you there. While it may seem like you don't see smoke in the air anymore and it should be time to go back home, I want to share with you a couple of the factors we use to, it's a good sign, we got some water coming in. That's not a bad thing, right? So I want to share with you some of the factors we're using in order to make the decision for trigger points on getting you back in your homes. Obviously, one of them is fire conditions. The power is out to vast majority of these homes. We would like to get the power back on, but that is not a critical component of releasing the roadways and getting you back up there. One of the things we want to do is make it safe for you, but one of the biggest factors is we also want to make it safe for our firefighters, our utility workers, and everybody up there working in order to make sure this doesn't have a flare-up and you can get power back as soon as you possibly can. So this community is flooded up there with firefighters and utility workers working diligently to get you back in your homes. So I do want to give them a little bit of space to be able to do that unencumbered with a lot of excess traffic back and forth on the roadways. I literally just got done driving through there, and there are people everywhere, and they need to be given a little bit of leeway to do the work they're doing. I'm going to throw out some good news for you here. We opened Highway 34 from the Loveland side up to Idlewild. Now this is not open for everybody. You have to show an ID that you actually have a residence and that you live up there. But if you do, we're allowing you to get back up to your homes. Power was restored to those homes today, and you're eligible to get back up in there and come and go freely as long as you have your ID showing that you actually have a residence in there. We also began credentialing today for the Storm Mountain area. That happened at the Office of Emergency Management so that you can go in there and get your credentials stating that you actually do belong up in there. That's really for twofold. While that was where most of the damage was, I want to make sure that the looky-loos and people that just have a curiosity to go see what the damage was are not up in there until residents have a chance to go up there and figure out what they lost or what they didn't lose. It's really for the safety so that we don't have people up there who shouldn't belong up there, and just increase the traffic because we're going to have firefighters in there for some time and utility workers. That credentialing process opened today and it started, but now that you have your credential, that doesn't mean that you can access it at any point in time. We are meeting tonight, shortly after this meeting, to make the decision on when that's going to happen, but we are very hopeful it will be more sooner than later. One thing I ask from everybody is that you sign up for emergency alerts as well as keyword alerts so that as soon as we make that decision, we're going to put that out and you will automatically be notified. You're not going to have to go anywhere and look for information. And just the human side of this, returning to a home, especially if your home is damaged, is going to be a challenge. Even if your home wasn't damaged by the fire, returning to your home that hasn't had electricity for multiple days is going to be a challenge. So our ask is give some space to these homeowners who are going in there. Even after the credentialing is lifted, please allow them some peace of mind and go in there and deal with the situation that they're having to deal with by themselves. Probably the last thing I want to throw out there is for anybody returning to your homes, if you have your home completely demolished by the fire, there are a lot of resources available on larimer.gov. Please go on there and utilize what's out there for you, because there are resources to help you get back on your feet.
Okay, thanks everybody. We'll go ahead and do about 15 minutes worth of questions, so we can go ahead and kick that off. I'll try to help facilitate which of these folks behind me are the best to answer the questions.
I know you all opened that tip line again for the cause of the fire. Any update on that?
Update on the tip line? Cause of the fire tip line?
Let me clarify the question. Is your question about the tip line itself, or is there a known cause of the fire? We don't know the cause of the fire. From my understanding, the primary investigating agency on this is the U.S. Forest Service. And I can divert to you, but my understanding is there's no knowledge. There is no determination yet the cause of the fire.
Right, for Carl,
Yeah.
maybe just when you get to this point, how long will crews have to be actively working this fire before you can say it's done and everybody can go home? The threat's over.
All right, so how long will we have crews on the fire? So, at this level with the incident management team, we're looking at downsizing and turning it back to the force. So we'll be here for several more days yet, but at some point in time, yes, we'll turn it back to the force. How long will the forest have folks here? The weather and fire is going to determine. As long as there's heat, as long as there's smoke, there's going to be folks patrolling. You'll see weeks that there'll be folks doing something on this fire.
Do you know about how many homes are still in that mandatory evacuation area?
So the question is the number of homes?
The sheriff told me to report on this, and right when I stepped up here, and I didn't do it. But I did write this down, so I have that number for you. The number of homes who are still in the mandatory is about 929. About 245 homes remain in a voluntary evacuation state, so that's where we're at for those two numbers.
Any other questions?
I heard a report from one resident that their house was being used for helicopter landings. Is that something firefighters are doing? Is that something that can be shared? Is it accurate?
Good question. They're trying to figure out which one's going to answer it. Go for it, Carl.
Yeah, I don't have specifics on where that came from or what that's like. Typically when we're going to use a landing area for a helicopter, we'll pre-approve that, work that out. If that is on private land, we'll work that out with the landowner ahead of time. If it was an emergency landing, drop firefighters off real quick to address a piece of fire maybe. But, for multiple routine use, we'll have an approved place, and, if it's on private land, we'll set up an agreement with that landowner.
You told us the last couple days, no injuries, no serious injuries, no fatalities. Is that still the case?
Correct. We haven't even had a minor injury in the last several days, other than, say, blisters and things like that. But minor cuts and scrapes, but really no injuries in the last several days.
Can you just address what the key to the success the last 3 days in particular has been? Because you went from 5% containment to 74% and very little growth over the past 3 days.
I'm out. Make it easy and just say it's a lot of hard work. We got a lot of firefighters in. At the peak we were nearly 600, a little over 600 firefighters. That's a lot of folks doing a lot of good work. And that's all the way from the beginning, from the first initial attack on. And then once we do get containment around the fire, then we can make quick work mopping it up.
Okay. Any other questions? Scanning. Awesome. Thanks, guys. For tomorrow, we'll plan to be at the same place. We'll make sure the tent's up if it's going to rain for sure. And we're going to focus a little bit more tomorrow on some of the recovery, some of the what's next. My plan is to invite our fire behavior analyst to talk a little bit about what happens at this point, what we see for that fire behavior stuff. So we'll start talking a little bit more about that transition tomorrow. So appreciate it, guys.